wonderful Ackies were.
That's right here. That the Mortal One Hulk Hogan's boot, I said boot, from WrestleMania 18 in the match against The Rock sold for $146,500. That's $146,000, people. Recently, that's crazy money for one boot. It was the left boot. Ain't that crazy? Also, Mike, I hear he's having trouble with he's coming off the beer can and stuff. So the Real American Beer, guys, this beer can right here with Hulk Hogan on it, let's see if you can see it. He will no longer be on the beer can starting in March. I don't know the true story behind that and what's the reasoning, but so if you want to get, what I'm saying is, I'm sure it'll probably be out in stores past the deadline and them cutting off making it for months because they'll probably produce so much of it. But you might want to see in the next few months to get you some of that beer if it's sold in your state or whatever. So.
Well, sorry about that. I was going to comment right then and there, but my hot American wife did call me, and so I decided to answer the phone real quick. She just got off work. We're just keeping the American themes today, apparently.
Yes, we are.
All that stuff. I think with I was listening to what you were saying.
Yeah.
The whole boot thing. I'm not paying that much for one boot. I don't care if it's from WrestleMania. I don't care if it was Hulk Hogan. I don't care if it was from that match. Which, honestly, in my opinion, that match probably should have been in the Hall of Fame last year for the what's that section called now? You know what I'm talking about.
Legacy.
That match, yeah, that match should have been up in there before the Stone Cold and Bret Hart match, which it's hard for me to say because I'm a big Stone Cold fan. I think that match of Hogan and Rock should have been in just how the whole turn happened.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty incredible to watch it, but even with that history from it, which, like I said, it should be in the Hall of Fame, I'm not paying that much for one boot, and I think it was the left boot. Nobody wants a left boot. The only one that might want a left boot is probably a lefty, which we're not going down that rabbit hole no more today.
No.
Yeah, but I'm not paying that much for it. I can't. And then the whole Real American Beer. Why? Like he's been gone for not even a year, and you're already going to take his space off of his beer company, like off the game.
And I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know.
The only thing I could think of maybe is maybe to brand it a little bit better. Maybe they could have not have Hogan as the face of it, because you got to think he was kind of controversial at the end and stuff. Maybe they're trying to do where maybe they get like another spokesperson that could maybe carry it, but they have a common brand. That way, maybe they even get the good people of the Jamie and Mike Wrestling Adventures to promote the Real American Beer. I don't know. It's not true, but it could happen. It's hard to promote it with somebody else's face on it, you know?
Yes.
So that could be a reason. Or who owns the rights to his likeness? His wife? His son?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't want to do that anymore. Maybe they don't want his likeness out there, like on a beer can, you know?
Right.
So that could be a possibility. So I don't know. It's hard to say which way it's going to go, but not, like I said, not even a year after he passed, they already took him off the can. And the design don't even look that good that I saw that they're going to replace it with. It's kind of like the same colors
Yeah.
and stuff, but it's not nothing to really brag about, in my opinion.
Right. You're right.
But can you show that can one more time? We want to see it. Look, that it goes from that really awesome artwork on a
Mm-hmm.
can to like a typical looking beer can now.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's almost like we talked about earlier, like the world changes and stuff like that. They changed so much stuff from the '90s that we love as a kid. Like just say like McDonald's. Look how much fun it was as a kid. When I was a kid, they had a play area. It was
Yeah.
bright colors. Like people had birthday parties up in there. Now it looks like it's a almost like a gel, like just a plain dull gray color. Like then you go in, they changed it up where like it just I don't know, it just don't. It's nowhere close to where it was, and that's just the
Yeah.
world we're living in.
Yeah.
And it's sad that the one thing that was coming back that looked like really awesome looking, like a design, and then they're going to take it away less than a year after he died. So
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So there was something online that you brought to my attention, and you sent me the clip. It was from the
Yeah.
Hardy Boys. Yeah.
Yeah, they was doing a podcast with
Yeah.
Chris Van Vliet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was his name? They was talking about a guy named Keith Davis. Am I right?
Keith Davis. That is right.
So I'll tell you what I know, and then the backstory with James and stuff, because he was during that time for him,
Yeah.
so he knows a little bit more. So the clip, I didn't see the whole podcast that they was doing. It was just a little clip that said that he was going to do a match with who was he going with Steiner? Or he had a match with somebody.
Razor Ramon.
Yeah, Razor. Yeah, that's right. And he was going to do the Razor's Edge.
Mhm.
So and Jeff and Matt said that he was good for the whole spot. They asked him, and he was apparently good with it. And then like a couple hours before the show or something,
Yeah.
he starts freaking out. Said, "Oh, I can't do this match. My neck is hurting. I got a bad neck and everything."
Yeah.
So Stallion he looked at Jeff and said he's him. So they told Jeff he was this Keith Davis person for the night or something. That he went out there and took the Razor's Edge and everything. And that's how Jeff Hardy debuted on TV. So
Yeah. I do remember that.
did he really have a bad neck? That's the question.
That's the story that went around because they went to television, and this was since that was Jeff's first WWE match. This was months before I was taken to TV to do the same thing, job for whoever, you know. But anyway, I do remember the story when they came back from the trip. It was the following weekend. We had shows somewhere in the Carolinas because that's where Stallion mainly ran, and they were talking about Keith Davis and what happened, and that they threw Hardy in the ring and in the match or whatever, Jeff, and which he ended up loving Jeff. You know, Hall loved Jeff later on, like after that match, and he built a rapport, and he probably did a couple other job matches too, at least another one I think with Razor later on down the road. But the story with Keith Davis. So a lot of fans out there may know Chris Hamrick. He Confederate. I don't know what his gimmick was in ECW. Something Confederate. Chris Hamrick, like a Southern guy. He had like the Confederate flag on him, and because Chris was a Southern boy from the Carolinas, came out of near Shelby, up in that area. But anyway, so that's how Keith got hooked up with Stallion to go to TV. It was Keith would come around and do indie shows with us, and he also knew another guy, a real good buddy of mine, name's Larry Skipper, but that's his real name. But he went by Greg Hart, and he wore tights like Bret Hart, singlet and all. And Greg was, later on he became the Grunge Master. That's another story in itself. But anyway, that's how Keith Davis got involved with Stallion. So I guess Stallion took Keith up to TV because what Stallion would do, he'd load a van up. They'd be like, hey, we need guys for television. So Stallion would just start asking guys just to get a body, for the mere fact that he got the booking fee off of them too. And he filled a void for WWF television at the time when he brought up a whole van. He had a deal with them. I mean, he got the van paid for. They even paid for his gas. There was hotel rooms involved that all the guys split. And then everybody was getting paid set amount, and Stallion would take his booking fee from all 12 to 15 guys or whatever he took up at the time. So for him, it was a great thing. So that's why Keith Davis got to go. But that's a true story that was told by Jeff on that show. So if anybody hasn't listened to that guy's podcast or whatever, you need to go listen to it. It's an actual true story. But yeah, later on, I heard he had a bad neck, and he freaked out on doing the match. And of course, Stallion and them afterwards were, laughing about it, blah, blah, blah. But, it all comes down to this. I'm not saying he didn't have a bad neck. Only he knows his personal truth there. The guy involved. But I'm saying he could probably got a little frizzed out a bit being at TV and he might have a bad neck. He was scared of taking that move because it does look deadly. You got to admit it looks deadly. The Razor's Edge did. And it's a weird bump to take. So, yeah, I could see him getting a little upset, frizzed out, and just, I can't take it. I can't do it. But I'm probably right about this. At the end of the day, he probably was not brought back to television. He's probably one of the ones that was told, Stallion, don't bring this guy back, just for the mere fact that he carried on the way he did. But that's a true story, yeah. But Keith Davis, good guy overall. I mean, I know they didn't probably talk much in the detail about the guy himself, but he was a good, decent human being, good guy. Okay worker, but very limited when it came to working, and probably had no mic skills. But he worked for Stallion, because Stallion never booked talent really. It's, if you showed up, you worked. If you didn't show up that weekend, you didn't work, right? So it ain't like he booked talent like a normal promoter would for shows and say, hey, this is what's happening tonight. Because Stallion's posters, dude, I don't know if anybody knew this. His posters was probably 11 by 17. Had professional wrestling written across the top of them. Had a big picture of him on the side. It said Italian Stallion. And just said where it's at, the Armory or wherever we were going at. Or wherever. We very seldom did nightclubs or anything. Stallion very seldom did them. But it was mainly Armories. And what time it was. Just very simple. So Stallion would promote himself on his own shows as the main attraction. He would sometimes bring in a name, and even sometimes they wouldn't even be on the poster. He'd have Barbarian, Ricky Morton, Jimmy Valiant would make appearances. Well, Jimmy made appearances for everybody. But sometimes he wouldn't even have posters with them on it. And I'd be like, why wouldn't you even trying to market off of that? But it didn't matter. Stallion he ran so much in the same towns in the Carolinas that if they knew he was coming back, he'd have somebody show up for most of the shows. I'm not saying we didn't have bad houses at times, but a lot of the Armories would be packed wall to wall week on a monthly basis because he'd at least run them once a month. And we had like I made jokes last time and times before, I probably worked at every Armory in North and South Carolina that you could think of, just because of Stallion alone. But yeah, Keith Davis, good dude. True story that Jeff told. He did frizz out over the Razor's Edge, and I don't think he ever went back to TV after that. But I don't know. It's been a long time ago. That was 1994. So, but I do know that my pair of boots got worn a lot the time I went because I wasn't used, and the guys were just flip-flopping them around to have something different on TV, So, but, yeah, true story. Keith Davis. I'm not sure where he's at I hope he's still living. I'd like to have him on the show, maybe ask him about it. Hey, Keith, what happened? What's the real story? Not the story we've heard from 4 other people, but what's the real story? But anyway.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
He could have just got hurt and it's like, oh, no, I start freaking out. Like, I don't want to make it. It could have been anything. Yeah. He could have woke up that morning with like a crick in his neck or something.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to take it.
Right.
But I do know one thing. We support local independent wrestling.
We do.
And that reminds me, this Friday, the 13th, at Danville, our good buddy that was on the podcast last time,
yes,
Bobby Yellow is going to be there. And it's a blind date tag team tournament.
Yes.
And he will be there live. It's going to be, this one is, sorry, it's on my phone. I don't have a flyer for that one. It's going to be, tickets are $15, children 6 and under for free, and the bell time is at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
So, y'all want a good night right before Valentine's Day, just go out there and support them. And then I think on the 28th of this month, they got rescheduled the Boogie Jam with the Boogie Woogie Man. He's going to be in Montville, Virginia.
Yes.
And everything. They rescheduled that one because with all that snow and stuff. I know our good friend Bobby said, the Yellow Man said, he wasn't going to be at it because had a prior thing to do. Is he going to show up this time? I don't know. Maybe he'll be able to show up now since they rescheduled it. But we all know one person that will be there, and that's the Boogie Woogie Man.
Yes. So, Jimmy, the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant. Man, I remember the first time I met Jimmy. I met him on an indie show in Asheville, North Carolina. I had started taking indie bookings outside of Stallion and all that. And my first gig, I mean, I'm not joking. They had talent from Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They had everybody from Al Snow there, Unabomb, which is now Kane to everybody, Glenn Jacobs, Buddy Landell, Nelson Royal, Jimmy Valiant, Wahoo McDaniel. Man, they had an all-star indie card up in Asheville on a Wednesday night of all nights in May of, 1995. And my fondest first memory of Jimmy Valiant was going up to his table to meet him, shake his hand, and he ends up selling me merch. So there we go. I actually got a nice, it's pretty cool, man. It's one of the smaller records. I don't know what size they are. I don't know how to dictate what size record it is, but it's a small one. And one side had a song from Jimmy Valiant. The flip side had Jerry the King Lawler singing. And everybody knows I'm a Jerry the King Lawler mark, especially by now, because that's all I talk about is Lawler. But Jimmy actually signs, it's in a white sleeve, and you can see what side of the record's still in the middle of the circle there. But he signs the record for me. But I bought that from Jimmy in probably an 8x10. So, but the old saying is about Jimmy Valiant, he can sell ice to an Eskimo. So, and that's true. He sells merch to the boys. He'll be like, hey, brother, I got to buy something, brother. And you end up buying something. So.
Great. You start talking about ice again.
You had to go there, bro.
No. Then I met him at back when we had that big old flea market, Happy's. He was always there on Saturdays. He was there on Saturdays and it's school on Sundays and everything. And yeah, I mean, if y'all ever want to meet him and y'all don't go to the show, he is always at his wrestling school on Sundays.
Yes.
So I mean, he'll talk to you and everything. he's really a nice guy and everything. A WWE Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So is Trump. Uh, just, I mean, he is a WWE Hall of Famer.
He is. You can't take it away. Yeah.
So the lefties can't say nothing about that. He is a WWE Hall of Famer. So
yes. But one guy we've talked about every time we get a chance should be a WWE Hall of Famer.
Vince
Mr.
Russo.
Crippler, Chris Benoit.
I thought we was going with Vince Russo.
Well,
But
Vince
Chris
does
Benoit very neat. Look, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Chris Benoit needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Vince Russo needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Vince McMahon needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Ted Turner needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And then with the working relationship that they have with TNA, they need to put Dixie Carter in the Hall of Fame. Why not? Just do it.
Yes.
I mean, if y'all don't want Dixie Carter in the Hall of Fame, then y'all might be sexist. I don't know. She deserves to be in. She deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
The WWE Hall of Fame, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean they got a working relationship. Why not have a TNA ring?
Okay. Why don't WWE? Why did they take the? Speaking of rings, why did they take the 6-sided octagon ring away from AAA?
I don't know.
That's their identity, right?
Yeah. Now, I mean, they could have said, well, I don't want our wrestlers to go up in a 6-sided ring now because it is harder to take bumps than they said.
Yes.
And it hurts more, so maybe they're trying to help the wrestlers out. But, I mean, it's their identity. Like, TNA had the 6-sided.
Yeah.
They need to – I don't even care if it's been, 10 years since they had the 6-sided ring in TNA? They need to bring it back. That's who they was. But they're probably never going to do that with the working relationship that they do have. I wish they had other promotion with Jarrett took off, Global Force Wrestling. They had the 6-sided ring too and everything. And if that would have taken off and had the 6-sided, I think they probably would have been a good contender right now and everything. Because like they said with TNA, it was different. It was something that caught your eye when you put it to the channel. And I told James the story. It caught my eye with TNA when it first started. I went to my grandma's house and everything, and I never thought she'd be watching wrestling. One grandma I kind of figured she did because she used to. But this one I never really thought she'd be watching wrestling. And it's up in there. She's watching TNA back in the day when it was at the early days, like the very start of it and everything. Like she watched like all of them.
Yeah.
And then I went over there and saw like the 6-sided ring and I got into it. And AJ Styles was the first one I saw in the ring, and that's how I got connected with that with TNA. And then that's how I got connected with AJ Styles, the best leader of the Bullet Club. That is still a thing. I don't care what anybody says, they're still a thing. It's something that just gets your eye. I'm sure if the 6-sided there, it's going to catch a kid's eye, and they're going to be like, Mom, Dad, what is this? And then they're going to probably do sales. Like, it's something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got TNA now, AEW, WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan, AAA now. They're all it all looks the same. AAA looks like a modern WWE show now. Like with the stage, ramp, everything. It ain't nothing different. The only different about any of them is probably AEW with the whole, like the tunnels that the wrestler comes out. It almost gives like a old TNA vibe and stuff, but it ain't nothing different about it other than that. I think if one company goes back to the 6-sided ring, it would honestly probably help them out more because it's actually different. It's cooler and stuff. I just like how it looks.
Yeah. You know, when I first went to TNA, I was a little concerned about it being 6 different sides, right? But then again, I'm trying to think. Hold on. The first time I saw a 6-sided ring was before I actually was hired by TNA, and I worked in one was for Hermie Sadler, the NASCAR driver. He helped run independent shows in the Carolinas, Virginia, and he would use a 6-sided ring. He'd use TNA's logo, and I can't remember what he called his local group, but he was mixed in with Dave Hebner, Earl Hebner's brother. They booked the shows. So I got in contact with Dave Hebner. Dave actually booked me for the Carolina shows that I got on initially. And they were like in Greensboro, and it was some other, Mooresville and Greensboro. I think it was Mooresville, North Carolina at the high school on a Friday night. And Saturday we did Greensboro at some Boys and Girls Club. And it's the first time I ever stepped foot in a 6-sided ring. And the first night I get in there, you know, I don't know where I should put the tag teams, what corners I should put them in, nothing. So my first match of the night was a singles. It was one of the Machine Guns, but it wasn't Alex Shelley. It's Sabin. Chris Sabin, is that his name? Chris Sabin worked Petey Williams. Dude, off the charts good, right? Them two are so good. And Petey Williams, you know, you just talked about his move earlier, somebody used. But the Canadian Destroyer, first time I saw that live in the ring, phenomenal opening match. And then later on, I had a tag match with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg working Bobby Roode and another Team Canada member. He had long blonde hair, but I can't remember his name. May have been Johnny Devine, but I can't remember. Yeah. But it was Bobby Roode and another Team Canada member. And excellent match, man. Road Dogg and Billy was so easy to work with. First time ever working with them. But anyway, getting back to the tag team story, I was going to tell you the tag team story about what corner to put it in, right? Well, you know how it's got many different sides. Well, the farthest 2 corners that are straight across from each other, right, was where you're supposed to put them at. Well, I did that. I didn't know to do that. I did that because, I don't know, it just seemed more sense to me to have them straight across the longest way apart from each other, right? Instead of having them on 2 weird corners and made it awkward. So I put them from the corners that were straight across from each other, probably the longest point of the ring. They worked their tag match, went over really good. I was happy at that. And I get to the back, and Earl Hebner goes, "That was great." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You knew what corner to put them in." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You did right." I said, "Well, I didn't know if I was right or not." I said, "There's more than 4 corners out there." So I said, there's like 6. It's called 6-sided ring. There's 6 ring posts, right? I'm pretty sure there's no more than 6. Now I may not know what I'm talking about, but yeah, 6 sides of the ring, so 6 poles. But anyway, so put them there like that, and it was right. And to get told that was right, first time getting in the ring, and no one told me ahead of time what to do, made me feel good. So, but that's my first time I actually met Earl Hebner too. Before we roomed together years later in TNA and became friends at TNA. But yeah, man, but talking about Hermie Sadler, man, he had a really good thing going there. That was like the hottest independent in 2004 and 5 and 6 or whatever it was. I can't remember what years it was now, but it was like probably the hottest independent in Virginia, because he'd run South Boston, Virginia, Danville, areas like that. What's the other town? The NWA Crockett used to run it, Mid-Atlantic. Not Hillsville. Is there a Martin? Not Martinsville either. I cannot think, man. It'll come to me later, but he ran a lot of the towns that Crockett would run, so I'm trying to get at, long story short. And he'd run Richmond and down towards his way, wherever his racing group was from. But I don't know if you knew this, but not only was, Hermie involved in the racing business, and I believe he had a NASCAR show he was on. He talked about it. and he drove cars. You knew that too. But he also owned a bunch of gas stations in the state of Virginia, and it was some big name on him. I can't remember what group he was affiliated with, but he had his money out in different things. Really smart businessman too. Really cool guy to talk to. But yeah, and he paid. I mean, he was probably the best. Well, other than a couple people I knew in the business, like friends that took care of me over the years, he was probably up there with one of the best payoffs on the Indies for me as a ref gig. And a lot of them gigs were not far from home, so it was nice. But yeah, I can't say anything bad about it. It was a fun time, and I was trying to get in TNA because I was there, right? Because I ran into James Storm and Chris Harris and guys I knew over the years, and AJ would work some of them. But I even got some DVDs of Hermes shows somewhere. But it was just a fun time, you know. And but back to that 6-sided ring. I wish when TNA took it away that time, right? They would have kept the 6-sided ring, because there's no different working in a 4-sided ring. It really isn't when you get down to the nuts and bolts and the P's and Q's of life, man. It's all the same at the end of the day. And it was especially all the same for any official. If you get in there and you complain that there's too many sides in that ring and you're a referee, you shouldn't probably be refereeing. You should be able to adapt to that just as easy as it's a wrestling ring, you know? And that's all it is. It's a pro wrestling ring with more sides. We're easy to work in. And but when I went to TV, you know, it's a whole different ball game, of course. Every time you go to TV, it's a different ball game because you got to watch for the cameras. Hard cameras, you know, facing down the ring. And you got 2 or 3 stationary guys walking around or whatever. They got platforms sometimes to stand on or whatever. So the referee's job is to never really get in the way of the hard camera. That's the main objective. But you also want to be leery of the other camera guys, because if you block a shot, people are paying to watch pro wrestling. They're not paying to look at the referee's rear end. So I was always good at working the cameras. I got really good at it by working smaller independent promotions, Wildside, NWA Worldwide for Bird. Other smaller groups in the Carolinas had local TV over the years. And I got practice. And when I got to WCW, I really got to learn how to really work the cameras. And by the time I got signed by anybody else after WCW, I was good to go, you know. But I was told that at Ring Warrior show here in Florida back in 2015. I can't remember who runs that, man. I hate that when I forget, but I've done so much and it gets up in the head. But anyway, I was told by several there, and even the guy that did the production for this Ring Warriors, NWA Ring Warriors, he's like, "You're the best referee I've ever seen work the cameras." And that's pride, bro. That's pride in your work at the end of the day, to learn how to work the cameras. But back to the 6-sided ring. I wish TNA had kept it back in the day, and I wish WWE would have kept it for AAA. That's their identity. People seen their TV show, they think of Lucha Libre, they turn the TV, they think of that ring, and you change it. And obviously they've changed the way they book the talent now, right? The show ain't nothing like it used to be, I'm pretty sure. I haven't watched the one yet, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure it can't be the same as the old days.
No. Did they get so? Was you there when they got rid of the 6-sided ring?
Yeah.
Or now, was that really Hogan's idea? Like when he came in, they changed it up, or like did he? It's like, let's change it up. Let's do more traditional 4 sides, or was it TNA trying to rebrand? Because that's around that time where they changed it to Impact Wrestling. Was they just trying to rebrand it, and they used Hogan as the excuse to change it?
Well,
I'm
not sure what year they rebranded it, just the Impact Wrestling.
Because Foley came out with that.
Who?
On screen. Mick Foley. Okay. He changed it when he was like the authority figure.
Okay.
At that time. but I don't know if he changed it or if it was actually playing. Like with WWE legends coming in and they're changing like stuff on TV, you don't know if they got a lot of input because they're from WWE, they're legends,
Yeah.
or if it's actually TNA upper management. Like, hey, let's change it, but since you're a legend, let's use you to do this. Maybe we won't get too much heat on it, you know?
Yeah. I know in 2010 they came in, they made a big deal. I know by late 2009 we all knew that this was happening. Probably in November of 2009 there was talk. By December we all knew it was happening because they had to start promoting it. Anyway, they had to tell the talent, and they had meetings and all this, and we knew Hogan was coming in, Bischoff was coming in. Finally, I heard something about the ring changing, and even Earl Hebner, been in the business forever, always forced out a ring until he got to TNA. He was like, it's stupid. We shouldn't take the ring away, But I think it was more they were looking at it like this. And this is just me saying, I'm not in any of these meetings behind the scenes or whatever. I'm just a talent. I go to talent meetings, but that's it. I don't know nothing else. If something's top secret and Earl got wind of it, I may have heard it in conversations in private. But other than that, I didn't know Jack Rabbit other than this was happening. So basically what it comes down to is I think that TNA was changing the ring up. They knew Hogan was coming in. They knew Hogan was old school product. Bischoff's coming in. He's from the WCW days. I just think they thought, hey, we need to switch it all up. We're coming in. We're making a bang. We're saying it's a 3-hour Monday. We're going Monday night, 3 hours, head-to-head, the first Monday of the night, first Monday of the year, remember, 2010, to go against Raw. Big deal. And they pull out the four-sided ring when the TV show comes on. They got a whole new identity. Hogan's there. Hogan and Bischoff take the credit for changing the ring. I'm not saying it was probably in talks and meetings. Hey, should we change the ring? And Hogan and him probably brought it up. I'm sure. I don't know. But yeah, I think they had a lot of influence on it. But I think it was more of a whole identity change to boost the company and to get a better rating on that Monday night. Not the ring, but the way they produced the 3-hour show. And they had a better rating that night on that Monday, that initial Monday. And then, they went back to Thursdays for almost 2 months. And then they tried Mondays. And then early March, when they went straight Monday against Monday, it wasn't the same game. It wasn't the same as that one-off, right? I tell you what hurt him there, and this is just my opinion. This is not what's been said, unless someone else has said the same thing. But my opinion is you started that Monday night, the first one of the year. You should have stayed Monday night. Shouldn't have went back to your old time slot. I think you'd have stayed Monday. People would have took you more serious and been like, man, they're really coming out. Maybe we'll have another Monday Night Wars, right? But when you go back for 2 months to Thursdays and all of a sudden, we're going Monday, you killed all your whole momentum was dead by that point, right? Your whole momentum is dead. And it may have been something with the TV station. Spike may have been like, we can't give you Mondays. And they had to talk them into it and say, hey, that was the best rating we've had in forever. We need to go back to Mondays. And maybe it took time. But I think it lost a lot of momentum with saying you're changing and switching things up. And you got Hulk Hogan coming in and Eric Bischoff and Hogan's friends and this guy and that guy. And then all of a sudden, we're on Thursday next week. I just think it killed it, the momentum. So, but yeah, I think they had influence on it, but it was all about an identity change at that point. And I don't know when they changed the name to just Impact. I don't know if it was 2010, 2011, 2012. That's something we need to research. But the whole time I was there in 2010, which was up through the summer, basically, because my last match, and we've talked about it, I took the Muscle Buster from Joe, remember? In July, late June. It was showed July 8th of 2010. And I didn't go back to TV after that. After that aired, my My booking sheet didn't come to me. I didn't get emails or nothing. So I inquired in the office, and of course, I told the story. Terry Taylor told me that unfortunately I'm not coming back at this point, but stay in touch. Blah blah blah. The typical business pro wrestling thing when they release you that for no reason. It's just, hey, you're gone. But it is what it is, and a lot of things were changing at that point in that business. A lot of things were changing at that time. The business is a continuous change.
Now, during when they went Monday nights and try to go head to head with Raw, which in my opinion was a stupid idea. You're not going to beat at the time TNA wasn't going to beat them.
Yeah,
in my opinion. I think it was a bad decision on that. Do you think if they would have kept the 6-sided ring to go head to head with Monday night, and they kept their identity, they kept their fans from the beginning and stuff? Because I heard they lost a lot of fans and stuff during that time. If they would have kept their identity, you think they would have had a chance to do a little bit more if they stayed on Monday nights and stuff? Because I said, I think TNA at the time was a whole lot better when they had the 6-sided rings.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then I think they was, if you go back and look at it, it was just like WCW. They had their good spots during that time.
Yeah.
People talk bad about it, but when you go back and watch it, it's doing good.
Yeah.
You think they could have competed with a 6-sided ring?
Yes. I think they could have stayed, kept the 6-sided ring the way it was, opened up the show. Another thing that hurt them, Mike, and a lot of people may disagree with this, is when they started bringing in a lot of ex-WWF talent that were a little older. And I'm friends with Brian Knobbs, but they brought in Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags. It's the Nasty Boys. Did a little program with, 3D, and before you know it, they were gone within a month and a half or so. They brought in Bubba the Love Sponge because he's some shock jock locally out of Orlando or somewhere, and they thought that, or Tampa, somewhere around here, and they thought that would boost ratings, right? But my thing is this: you bring in all this new talent people saw in WWF, WWE, whatever it was at the time, WWE, I guess. Even Mr. Anderson. I love Anderson. I refereed one of his indie matches back in 2001 for Burt Prentice. And I knew him from back then. Good guy, great guy. I love talking to him. Always super nice to me. But what I'm trying to get here, in long story short, is you're bringing in all this new talent, and you already got all this other talent that you have problems using as it is, because you got to have this extra sideshow called Explosion. They had that going on, mainly YouTube, I believe. And then you had your regular Impact show. You had no other television, but you're bringing in all this extra talent to add to what you already got going. And, I'm sure a lot of the newer talent coming in, I don't know if they're paid per appearance or how their contracts were, but there's certain guys on that roster. And I know as an official, if I didn't work, I didn't get paid at TNA, right? It was a little bit different structured deal than I had at WCW. WCW is a lot better because money beforehand and when you work. But the deal at TNA was only money when you worked. And a lot of guys, all the smaller talent guys, and I don't mean like ability-wise talent. I mean on the roster, the way they looked at them, perceived them. Jesse Neal. I love me some Jesse Neal, man. He teamed with Shannon Moore later. I don't know if you remember that tag team. Jesse had the big mohawk, ex-guy in the Navy. Super nice kid. But
is that what they had? They had the tag team Inc. didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
But I'm
because I
telling
like
you, bro,
that tag team.
Why? Why do you bring in all this new talent, and you have guys like Jesse that if it doesn't work, he doesn't get paid, right?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Because Jesse would come down because he lived in Orlando area to the TV. He would show up, but I heard that if Jesse didn't work, he didn't get paid, even though he was there.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing when you're taking money off the table to a young man like that wanted to succeed, had the raw talent, and he's having a hard time paying his bills because you're giving a time slot to somebody else. So I just think it was all done wrong. You should have worried about the talent you currently had and worked with them and made them all stars. Because we do all know at the end of the day that this business is ever growing, and you got to make new stars, because eventually the older stars, they ain't going to be able to work no more. We all know this. It's common knowledge.
Unless you're Ric Flair.
Well, unless you're Flair and you think you can go into your 310.
Yeah.
But the sad reality is, I love Flair to death. His body of work for our industry was the best ever. But, when you get to that point, man, somebody's just got to say, no, you're a liability at this point. And it's not being mean. It's just being cautious so somebody doesn't die in the ring, because nobody wants that. There's been guys die in the ring. And I don't want to see that be his ending legacy. But yeah, I mean, he had the retirement match, a year before with Michaels. I was live there in Orlando for that because I was employed by the company the year before in 2008. Yeah, it was 2008.
Yeah.
And 2 years before, that'd be 2 years, wouldn't it? Because he came into TNA in 2010. That's right. So 2 years before that, I was employed by WWE down here. I was there live, saw it live in that stadium in Orlando. One of the best moments ever. Flair went out on a high note. Worked one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, regardless if people like him or not. He is one of the greatest of all time, Shawn Michaels, especially of his era, right?
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you come back 2 years later and tarnish going out on even though you lost, the Nature Boy still went on top. He still went out on top. But anyway, I don't know. I have some bad feelings about that time and era, because that's when you saw the writing on the wall for a lot of us guys. Yeah. When the management changed, you overheard things. They were bringing in other people. They even started bringing in other refs. Next thing you know, I'm one of the ones released. Not a good year. But it is what it is. It's business. You're mad at first, but after time, your wounds heal. Yeah. And, but yeah, I think that whole time frame, man, we could go in a whole podcast for that. Just talk about the whole TNA run. How it changed from the time I got there to the time I was released. And, years later, I went back, Mike, and filled in for TV. I'm trying to think the years several years I went back and filled in TV over the years. I know 2015, 2016 come to mind, because we did a taping in 4 days. We did like 100 and some matches. It was crazy taping. You got paid for probably 6 weeks of TV in 4 days, bro. So that was a good pay week. But yeah, they had good agents, but the times I went back, I know 2015 and 16, they had like Shane Helms was an agent. Billy Corgan was messing around. I think he was backstage a lot. He runs NWA now, if people didn't know that, which they should, unless you've been under a rock for the last 10 years or 5 years or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the TNA changed a lot throughout them years, and they had some bad years there at the latter part. And then the new company took it over, and here we are now, right? But yeah, that whole I know that we went off topic there probably, but the whole time there was just when the whole new thing came in, the 6-sided ring left, the landscape change with all the older and newer, we call them newer talent to the company, but they brought in all them guys, and it hurt a lot of the other guys that were trying to succeed. But later on, a lot of them got their opportunities, and the product was still good for years. I thought the product was still good for years, even the years I wasn't there. But I think that, but once they went to that, they tried to bring back the 6-sided ring, right? Or did they not?
I think they brought it back for one show.
Okay.
And like a homecoming type thing.
Okay.
And I heard it did good and everything, but I don't know why they didn't keep it. But
yeah. But that was the only time, right? They never brought it back, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time I heard.
Yeah.
Uh,
Man, I wonder who's got all them 6-sided rings. I'd take one.
I'll take one.
I'd set that thing up right here in the parking lot where I live.
I'll just set it up at I don't know.
At work?
No, no, no.
Bro, you can have free-for-alls. Just
No,
have a roll of stuff.
No, I'll take it to my church and have like a bake sale during the wrestling matches. Like you
Okay.
said back in the day. They're a little old school.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll put the 6 sides up in the Montville Rec Center. So, at the Bedford Moose Lodge or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I was watching, and well, I know it's going off topic now. I was watching some Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling from the early 80s. And, you got Briscoes on there and Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. We talked about them one time. Slaughter and Kernodle. Really good era for the company. Paul Jones is working still. 82, 83 in that era. Roddy Piper was there. Greg Valentine. And then since it is, I'm trying to think here what his name was. Iceman King Parsons. I don't know if you remember that name from World Class. He was big later on with them, but he's got his early days here where he's like in the ring with established stars, Valentine, and had a real good match with Valentine on the Mid-Atlantic TV. But being that it is Black History Month, I just wanted to say that Iceman King Parsons was one of the most underrated athletes in our industry. I think he's up there as great as Booker T, but he just didn't get his just due. I think Iceman could have went a lot farther, especially in today's body of work. Iceman could hold up his own with any talent out there today and put on a good match. I love me some Iceman King Parsons, man. One of the best ever. Him and Pez Watley. I want to tell you something about Pez Watley. I love Pez Watley because when I was in 1996, I was working for a guy down in Greenville, South Carolina. Name was Jim Lewis, and his partner, I can't think of his partner's real name, Paul something, but he went by the name, everybody called him Cowboy because he wore a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, buckle. He's a cowboy, had the big mustache, everything. He looked like Sam Elliott or somebody like that, right? Old school. But anyway, they ran this promotion in Greenville. And Pez Watley was one of the people down at the power plant that would train the talent at this point in the mid-90s. Well, Pez, I didn't start till late 93. So we're talking, I'm less than 3 years in the industry, right? You're still learning your first few years, because if you don't, you're really not learning. If you don't continue, but even today I continue to learn something new because the business has continuously changed on me. But other than that, I'm still learning here. And Pez was so super cool, man. In the ring, he taught me in this one match. I'm not lying to you, Mike. He taught me how to time. You check the man's arm and it falls down. He taught me in that one match, and a couple times he did it. When to pull the arm up, when to call for the, that's one, when to wait, milk it, pull it up again. Taught me my timing in that one match, how to do stuff like that. He added to what I needed in my repertoire to make myself better. Pez Watley, one of the best. People talk bad about Pez. I really don't like him because even after the fact, years later, I saw him at WCW when I got my job there finally. And I worked with him more than that one time, but that one time I remember because he taught me something great I could take to use. But I remember years later, I thanked him at WCW for that. And he was like, I didn't know that meant that much. I'm like, yeah. I said, anytime anybody that I grew up watching, I told you, I probably made him feel old, but I said, anytime I learned something from somebody that I grew up watching, it meant something to me that you took the time to make me better. And And that was with the conversation going into a bomb threat at the arena that night. Yes. The arena got a call. We was going live on Nitro up in Wheeling, West Virginia. This is the same night I had the conversation with Pez, right, about that. We had a bomb threat at the building, and we found out when the pyro was going off to go live. So you know what I thought, don't you? When I heard about the bomb threat being called and the pyro is going off, I'm thinking the building's actually exploding. So me and Pez go outside the back door. I wasn't up yet to work, and this is live Nitro coming from Wheeling, West Virginia. But that was scary because I really thought the pyro inside that back of the building, backstage, sounded like the building was coming apart. And after you heard that, somebody's like, "Yeah, we just got a bomb threat." The production crew just walking around like nothing's going on. And then that happened. And I'm thinking maybe it blew up, but we didn't stop the show for it or evacuate the building or anything. So, but yeah, Pez Whatley, one of the best ever. Like I said, and Iceman King Parsons and the Junkyard Dog. These are just guys that we got to remember, in this particular month, especially when we talk about athletes that are Black Americans, the greatest ever. Them three are probably on my top list with Booker T. I'm a big Booker T fan as well. I got to work with Booker. I thought Booker had some phenomenal matches. I enjoyed everything I did with him. But all of them are cool guys to be around. Only met the Junkyard Dog once as a fan. I never got to work with Junkyard Dog. He died too soon for that. But he seemed nice from what I could take. Yeah.
Forget Booker T.
Brother, no.
Stevie Ray should have been the main eventer out of the brothers.
Well, you need to talk to Vince Russo about that because Vince Russo thought otherwise.
Okay, everybody makes one mistake, and that was Russo's one mistake.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, so we're going to go back a little bit. The timing of the arm, like the dropping and stuff. Is it supposed to be like when y'all do it? Is it like raising the hand like 3 times to do it, or when did it become the arm fall one time and then that's it for the match?
Right.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
I do know where you're going with this.
Okay. I'm confused on it.
I think it comes from, and this is just my theory on this too, Mike, because when I referee an independent show nowadays and the guy's got him in a chin lock and the guy's looking like he's going out, I still do the old school way that you talked and I talked about earlier about raising the arm. Yeah. When it falls, know how to milk it, pull it up again, take your time, get the crowd reaction. I think what happened somewhere along the way, just like with the tapping thing, years ago, the guy had to verbally say, "I quit," or he passed out, one of the two, right? Yeah. It was never a tap out because guys would generally, sometimes by mistake, hit the mat. So if they did that by mistake now, and all right, if the referee wanted to, he could technically say, "Oh, you tapped," right? I don't know. I think somewhere along the way with the UFC coming out and the way they do things, that pro wrestling with that route and they're doing the tapping now. They started that years ago. And I think now oh God, he looks out, arm, oh shoot, ring the bell. It's just, I think they're just going with the times and it's something different. But the old school way when I was taught back over 30 years ago, yes, I said over 30 years ago, was you check the arm, you do it, and the third time, if it fell again, you're ringing that bell because he's out. So things changed along the way. I don't know when or where this happened. But another thing I'm going to tell you about that too. One thing I was told at developmental when I went in to work for the WWE, they're like, this week we're doing it this way, but next week you might be doing it that way. So it's whatever the office wants, you give them, right? Because we'd be constantly changing up stuff in developmental week to week of what they expected from people. So I just think it's an ever-changing business, and they changed it to that. And you may never see the check of the arm 3 times again. I don't know. I haven't watched the product on either one of them enough nowadays to realize that they still do that. I watch it. I see what you're talking about, but
I'm confused because it's going to go to the AJ Styles match.
yeah,
Um, I I don't like it. Like,
yeah,
not that he gave up, like passed out or whatever. I don't like it because even with the John Cena match, they did the arm 3 times.
yeah,
John tired out, and then at the end he taps out.
right.
For the AJ match, which it don't make no sense at all for me. If one's gonna tap out, I would have said it was probably gonna be AJ only because he's smaller than John and stuff like that. John tapping out and stuff don't make sense when AJ fought to the very end and just passed out. Like that whole inning, those 2 innings did not sit well with me on this. But AJ's his arm drops, and I think he raises up for like the 3rd time, and it keeps going. And then when they said he passed out or something, he raised his arm, drops. That's it. You just had the 3 a couple minutes before,
Yeah.
and then at the very end, it drops 1 time, and then that's it. Like so, they're doing.
Oh,
So I don't understand it. Like, why does it? If it was the 3 before
mm-hmm.
and his arm fell twice,
Mm-hmm.
that should be according to the ending of the match. He should have lost twice right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, he drops it once, passed out, called the ring for the bell, and everything.
Was it the same move?
Yeah,
I,
same move.
I don't know
Like
what the logic
Cena
is.
was a
Maybe.
little like Cena was a little different because he did like his arm dropped twice. The 3rd one, he raises like power through like Hogan would, and Gunther falls back and chokes him out, and Cena taps out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like the finish. I will admit right now, I do not like that finish. I think he should have passed out like AJ did in the match.
Yeah.
But AJ, on the other hand, so Cena dropped twice, so they raced it 3 times, dropped twice, and at the end he taps out.
Mm-hmm.
AJ, it drops and everything, he powers through, and then the very next, like, he fights through it, looks like he's about to get out of it, and then all of a sudden, he's stuck up in the hole, and then he drops, the ref checks his arm, it drops 1 time, passed out, cost the match. Why didn't he do it for 3?
Yeah.
He just did 3 5 minutes before, and then now you're only going to do 1 at the end.
I'd have to go back and watch it, but I get from what I'm hearing from you, tell the story here.
I don't like it.
My theory on that, though, is probably they wanted to finish where the referee would be like looking at him. He's not answering him. Does this. He knows he's out.
Which he did. Like, he looked like he was out, like, completely.
Mm-hmm.
Which I totally understand.
Yeah.
And, like, you can see. So, I forgot the ref's name that did AJ Smash.
Was it Charles?
No, it was the ref that was in TNA. Kind of like
Rudy
sort
Charles.
of darker. Huh?
Rudy Charles? That's his old wrestling name. Dan England?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It might be. Well, he was up in TNA, so you could see, like, the look on his face, kind of worried. Like, it played into the story pretty well.
Yeah.
I love the story of the whole match. But then, like, as soon as AJ looked like he was about out, you could see, like, the look on his face was worried.
Yeah.
The first time in a long time, it's like a good face expression and stuff from a ref.
Yeah.
Like, it was really good. So he was worried and stuff. And as soon as his, like, arm falls, he called for the bell, like, right away. Which, I guess, like, in a, like, friends and respect kind of thing. You want Gunther to hurry up and let him go because you're worried about him.
Yeah.
Like that, I could semi understand, but you just did the whole 3. Why didn't you just raise his arms 2 more times and let it fall? Like, let it make sense a little bit on that.
Right.
From a fan's point of view. Like, you've been in the business, so you might, like, oh, well, that's how it's supposed to be, whatever. But from a fan, it's just, like, I just didn't like it. Like, it just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get what
3, then 1. Like, it's.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I'm guessing it was just like, like this referee is supposed to play it off like, AJ's not answering me. He looks out. This looks bad. Picks it up. Oh God. Ring the bell, right? So it probably made sense. Overall, the finish got over, but I don't know.
It makes sense for the finish like that.
Yeah.
But it don't make sense when maybe like 5 minutes before you just did the whole 3 and he kind of powered through the third one.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
With you doing it just one time, it's no guarantee. Like he could have powered out at 3. He could have kept it going. Like I don't know.
Right.
Like I like the ones. Like I do like the ones like they do it 3 times in the third. You don't know if it's gonna fall or they're gonna power through it. Like that's what I like. I don't like just the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the only thing I think they could have done a little different there is if the finish was, what you're saying, the one, bam, he's out, whatever. Maybe with the first time he put how many times did he get the finisher on him? Just that one other time?
Oh, no. It was like the last part of the match, like he was up in it. Remember when Cena was up in the match?
Yeah.
And he was in there for like a long time at the end. AJ was probably in it for the same amount of time, maybe a little bit longer. Like he was in it for a while, and he powered through it a few times. Like he's the phenomenal AJ Styles, so he was getting out of it like phenomenally. No pun intended. Like he escaped. Like he's smaller, so he maneuvered his way through the arms and stuff. He even powered through it a few times. Like he did like he was supposed to.
Yes.
Like to make it believable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ending. I don't know. Like I said, the ref did work at TNA. They had that connection, so I could semi. Like you could see, like he played it like the face, like he was worried and everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Like, I do understand it, like, but it don't make sense where he fired through it that whole. I want to say about half, like throughout the match, on and off, about half of the match.
Yeah.
He fired through the sleeper hole, and then at the very end, they just, I don't know.
That's something. I mean, the finish makes sense. It's just the part earlier on. I don't know what their theory was with that.
Like he fired through it like a bunch, so it just gets you thinking like, oh, they're gonna do it again. But then at the end, it's just like, boom, one arm down. That's it.
Did the crowd react?
Like when they raised it, it was kind of like whatever, but then it's kind of like shocked because he lost and his career was on the line and everything. But in my opinion, wouldn't it be more of a reaction if you're going through it like 3 times and the third time it just drops to the ground because you just did it before you powered through.
Yeah.
But you get the people, yes, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it again. A little bit more fight up in AJ, and then it just drops.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I think it would have been more reaction, more whatever with that finish. Not, but like I said, I didn't like the ending to Cena's match from a fan's point of view. I think he should have just passed out like AJ
Right.
did. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to make that on my list now to watch because, unfortunately, I'll admit it, I did not watch
It's a
it.
good match.
Yeah,
I will say it was a really good match.
and he's probably of his generation, probably the best all around worker and athlete that we've had in our industry. I mean, he gets his kudos.
Yeah.
AJ is phenomenal. I mean, it is true. I saw him from his early days and the early WCW days at the end there, because it went out of business. And then he got probably with TNA, and the rest is history, But yeah, I mean, no one can discredit that. It's just like of other eras, if we go back to the 1980s, we can talk about who was the best there, right? I like to do it by eras because I don't like to say, well, I think Jerry Lawler was the best of all time. Well, Jerry Lawler was good. He was the greatest of his era, in my opinion. Yeah. Ric Flair is in that lineup of the greatest of his era. But if we compare them to, it's like comparing apples and oranges, because the demographic of the business has changed. Everything about it's changed. The style of the business has changed. You're not going to see Ric Flair and Harley Race or Dusty Rhodes or any guys. Jerry Lawler do the moves AJ was doing with the X Division and all that, right? But if you go by eras, then you can say, bam, the best of his era is this guy. The best of this era was that guy. But, Mount Rushmore of 1970s was this and 80. You get what I'm saying? I just don't think we can do a Mount Rushmore or the best of their era from the whole industry from 1900 and whatever to now, right? You just can't do it. It's unfair to each competitor because the landscape of the business has changed and the way the athletes are now are different. A lot of these guys can do a lot more moves that are flashier. But in my opinion, they took away a lot of the psychology of the matches by doing this. But it's a different era. So it's an argument to have, but you really can't because we're talking about 1980, 1990, 1970 to 2026. Different era. But he's definitely, of the last 20 years, pound for pound, the best wrestler.
Now, can you talk about, like, you can compare people from, like, different generations and stuff, like different decades? Could you do the argument of who's better, say, Cena or AJ? Because they did it around the same time.
Yeah.
But it was two different companies, two different worlds.
Right.
Like, you can't really compare that neither.
They'd be in the same group. If one was still better than the other, they'd still be in the same group though. In the top, let's just say the top 5, them two are probably up there in the top, both of them are in the top 3. Let's just say that. Just to be fair to everybody else listening, it's a wrestling fan and we all have different perspectives. But they definitely are, I see what you're saying. But just like I said, pound for pound, AJ, everything he's done gave to the business. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, done the accomplishments in the WWE now for the last 10 years. To me, AJ, and I got to see him start in the business, I started in 1993 at 15. AJ starts at 19 or 20 in 1998. You know what I'm saying? We started in that same era together, just a few years difference. And I got to referee his first match in Georgia. And that holds a little more to me than even if someone can say, well, Cena did this and Cena did that. Well, we all have our opinion at the end of the day. I would still put AJ up higher than Cena, but I'd still put him in the same category because everything Cena has accomplished and gave to the industry in the last 20 years. So, yeah, you still have them up there neck and neck is what I'm getting at. But great athletes, man. Just like I said in the past, I used to say in my Mount Rushmore, I would put Jerry Lawler and Hulk Hogan. But see, if you notice all the names I listed, they were from 80s, early 90s,
Yeah.
mid 90s, late 90s era, right? They all came from the same era. So basically, I can go back and say that's my era from that. But let me tell you my last 20 years, because it's not fair. It's not fair to AJ and guys like Cena and other athletes that put their time in to say that, hey, I think Ric Flair's better than all of them. You go by eras, in my opinion, because the landscape of the business has changed so friggin' much from when I started watching as a child. And then when my grandparents watched it, God knows how much it changed since then, right? So, but definitely AJ is pound for pound, in my personal opinion, the last 20 years, the best all-around athlete in our industry. Kurt Angle falls into that. Kurt Angle had great matches with him and Samoa Joe both at TNA. I think that, but Kurt had good matches with Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my goodness, man, I don't know who we can say here. I don't know if he had better matches with Eddie or better matches with AJ, but they were all great.
I don't know. I think Kurt, like, it's hard to say, but I think, my opinion, I say Kurt was AJ and Joe in TNA because Kurt was there for like later part of his career.
Yeah.
And stuff, but he was in his prime at that time.
Yeah.
Now, just say Eddie was around and Kurt stayed, and he had those matches with Eddie later on, and Kurt was in his prime then, it'd be very close. But just with Kurt being in his prime, facing AJ and Joe and all of them, I'd probably say it would be with them.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. But it's hard to, like you said, it's hard to say. Like you can't really compare the two. But in my opinion, AJ is just a little bit better than Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's hard to do the two because two different decades and stuff, two different companies. But if you look back on like the achievements and stuff, I think AJ was better. And I just think it's hard to say, but I think he's a little bit more athletic than Shawn Michaels. It's close, but I think AJ is.
Yeah.
Shawn, I think, can beat AJ on the mic.